taxpayer dollars wasted? Not on his watch. 8 on your side's Mark Douglas is making sure your hard-earned money isn't going down the drain because you paid for it.
A former Florida Department of Transportation worker is accused of stealing grant money intended for the poor, disabled, and elderly. But investigators say she didn't do it alone. She had some help from her husband. Federal prosecutors say they stole about $370,000, and you paid for that, and that's why Mark is on it tonight. Mark, we were talking earlier, this scam went on for years undetected. How was that even possible?
Good question, Keith. These investigators tell me that this couple found and exploited a weakness in the system, and that's how it happened. Now, according to the indictment, they conspired for years to steal a fortune in federal grant money from the Florida DOT, and for years they got away with it by setting up 2 Christian ministries to launder that money. Welcome to the glorious Highway to Heaven ministry. This Lakeland house might not look like a church, but this is home to the charity that investigators say Tracy Trunco and her husband, Alejo Trunco Diaz, set up to steal a fortune of your tax money from the Florida DOT.
We hired her as a trusted employee who had come to us from our comptroller's office within the department.
Tracy Trunco also happens to be the half-sister of former Lieutenant Governor Jennifer Carroll. She resigned 4 years ago in connection with an internet cafe gambling scandal. Last week, federal authorities arrested Tracy Trunco after a grand jury in Tampa indicted her for conspiracy, theft, and mail fraud. You were indicted by a federal grand jury last week.
No, I was not.
Your name's Tracy, right?
I was not indicted by any federal grand jury.
Back in 2010, Tracy Trunco worked out of the DOT's Tampa offices, and she ran a grant program to help poor, elderly, and disabled people with transportation needs. But investigators claim Trunco and her husband stole $370,000 through 2 missions they ran out of this Lakeland house and a storefront in Plant City, and they got away with it for 5 years.
You know, I don't know about embarrassing, Mark. I just know that, we depend on employees to do the right thing in accordance with their jobs and position descriptions.
Neighbors tell me the Truncos did do some porch front preaching, and they were generous with local kids.
They even had a little carnival over here for the kids in the neighborhood one last summer.
But the party's over now, and Trunco's husband is on the run. Federal prosecutors say your husband's a fugitive at this point. What did happen, Tracy? What happened to all of that money intended for poor people? The DOT's Inspector General tells me 3 people now have to sign off on grant money spending. Now, back when Trunco was handling federal grant transportation applications, she did it with her signature alone. They insist there are now new safeguards to keep anything like that from happening again, Keith.
I'm glad to hear that's in place, because this was money that would go for transportation, like vans, wheelchairs, any kind of transportation.
Sure, ramps.
But husband's out there somewhere, we don't know where, and the question that has to be asked, how they actually caught her, because he's still missing.
Well, she switched jobs, moved to Bartow, and another staff member started going over the files, found some curious things, and notified her managers. They notified the Inspector General. They called the FBI. So that's how it all came apart after 5 years. Unbelievable. Yeah. 5 years of getting away with it.
And she seems unsure that she's even been indicted. But you know.
We know.
Because Mark's on it. Thank you.